Far to the east, over ranges and rivers, lies a single solitary peak. The dwarves are determined to reclaim their homeland.
I like visitors as much as the next hobbit. But I do like to know them before they come visiting.
Mr. Baggins? At your service.
I'm surrounded by dwarves. What are they doing here?
Oh, they're quite a merry gathering.
So, this is the Hobbit.
You asked me to find the 14th member of this company, and I have chosen Mr. Baggins.
Me? No.
Hobbits can pass unseen by most if they choose, which gives us a distinct advantage.
We will seize this chance to take back Erebor!
Here, Mr. Bilbo! Where are you off to?
I'm going on an adventure!
Mithrandir, why the halfling?
Why Bilbo Baggins? Perhaps it is because I'm afraid. It gives me courage.
So this is your purpose, to enter the mountain?
What of it?
There are some who would not deem it wise.
A dark power has found a way back into the world.
Why don't we have a game of riddles?
And if it loses, what then? Well, if it loses precious, then we eat it. If Baggins loses, we eat it whole.
Fair enough. I will take each and every one of these dwarves over the mightiest army. Loyalty, honor, a willing heart. I can ask no more than that.
Home is now behind you. The world is ahead.
Well, that could have been worse.
You've got to be joking!
Hi everyone and welcome once again to another episode of Geekfest Rants. My name is Carlos Perron and joining me today I have Kyle Perron. Say hi, Kyle.
Hello.
And I have Mike Sutton. Say hello, Mike.
Hello, Mike.
The reason we are here today is we are going to go over our New York Comic Con adventures. We were there for 4 days. Some of us were there for all 4, some of us were there for 2. Some of our friends who were there were even there for less. But between all of us, we were able to do quite a bit of stuff. Not as much as we would always like, because we always want to do more than we are able to do, because we're always running around in too many different directions. For me specifically, and my wife Kim, we were manning our Geekfest Rants booth. This year, once again, we came to the convention as exhibitors, pretty much. We were there promoting our show, and they put us on what I would like to call the side room. Last year we were in the main room, and this year we were on the side room, which is the smaller of the 2 big dealer rooms, if you will. However, I think we had a better location this year. We were not all the way in the back against the wall. We were pretty much all the way in the back, not against the wall. We were kind of in between some aisles, and we actually had a rear curtain to our booth. And, it was a little better location. But they did spread things out differently this time. I remember last time they had Artist Alley was like right in front of us. This time Artist Alley was in a completely separate area of the whole convention center. Just like the autograph section was way over to another side, they put Artist Alley back there too. Now, like I said, most of the day we were there promoting, handing out flyers and talking to people, giving away buttons and pens and this and that. But in spite of that, we were able to sneak out every now and then and be able to attend some panels and obviously hit the dealer floor, which that's like my favorite part of the whole convention, and also go and see some of the displays they have. They had tons and tons of displays, different people promoting different things, television, film companies, all there with different setups where they're kind of interactive setups, and we all got to see different types of things. Now, let's start a little bit with some of the panels that we saw. And I know that for Mike, one of the biggest things that he saw last year that he really enjoyed was any Lord of the Ring / Hobbit related news. And this time around, I believe you got an update on what's happening with the Hobbit films. Take it away, Mike.
Yes, the OneRing.net website put down another panel together, trying to put together more information of the movie. They did put down a spoiler alert. Anybody who doesn't want to know anything about the movie, they said you should leave, because they pieced a lot of things together by going by the press releases, the toys, the action figures, and knowing the general knowledge of the book, and they're trying to put together what they think is going to be in the actual movie. And of course, because they're friends with Peter Jackson, as they admit, but they still can't talk about things that they actually know. So a lot of the things that they surmise is all based on toys and Legos, action figures, and things like that. So It was really interesting.
Now, these guys, if they get any information that they're not supposed to have or that's been leaked or something like that, not on purpose, usually I imagine MGM or even Peter Jackson himself would contact them and tell them to back off and not publish stuff like this, right?
That's correct. They came out and said that they're the biggest pain in the butts to the film for the film company for that reason, because they don't want them to leak out any information. So it was really interesting for them to sit there, and they went step by step. They had a slideshow. It lasted 45 minutes. The biggest problem I had was, and a lot of people complained, was their panel started at 9 o'clock at night. So you couldn't see it. Anybody who went during the day, you can't see it. It was all at the nighttime.
Was it pretty full of people, or?
Oh, yeah, they still had to be about a good 75 to 100 people. There was a lot of people. It filled up the whole room.
Now, you did mention that sometimes the way that the information comes out is through toys or, merchandise. I did notice in the dealer floor, there was one guy that actually had 2 or 3 Hobbit action figures and a Hobbit sword, like a toy sword. And I could have swore that one of the there were 3 figures. I think there was a Gandalf, and there was one girl that looked like an elf that I think might be the girl from Lost.
Evangeline Lilly.
Evangeline Lilly's character. I'm looking at it, I'm like, it kind of looks like her. Maybe it is her.
And it is. She's one of the newest characters. Her name is Toriel.
Okay, that sounds familiar, yes.
She's a created character. She did not appear in the book.
Right.
Now, according to the press release, Toriel is the charge of King Fandral. Now, if anybody who knows The Hobbit and some of the history, King Fandral is Legolas's father. So what they're implying is that Legolas and Toriel kind of grew up together. And that's how they get to know each other. Now, the other thing, too, according to OneRing.net, in the press release, she's a great warrior with the knives and a bow, which is Legolas. So we figure that's how they're tying them together and getting them Legolas back into The Hobbit. Because, again, Legolas was not in The Hobbit.
Right. That's right.
He was only in Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
They also had the other figure that you said there was. I think his name's Thorin Hogenshield. He's like the biggest dwarf there was there.
You might be right.
Yeah, he was
Yes.
there. They had.
He's the leader of the dwarves.
Yeah.
Cool. And they look good. From what again, I only saw 3, but they look pretty good. They don't seem to be as large, I think, as the previous Lord of the Ring action figures they put out. I think they were like 5-6 inches.
Yeah, they're
long.
a little smaller.
They're a little smaller, but they look pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't see the toys. I haven't looked at them, so I'll be surprised when I finally go out and take a look at them. But like you're saying with the toys, they said one or the other, there's a pack of hero toys, and that includes Thorin, Dwalin, Feely, and Keely. So it's obvious those are going to be the fighter dwarves.
Right,
those are the warriors of the cast. OneRing.net said that Bofer is more of the comedic relief. He's the big, heavy-set dwarf that you see in the trailer when they throw food into his mouth. They talked about Oin is the healer. He's also hard of hearing, which was the same in the book. So it seems that each dwarf has its own little characterization or something like that.
Okay.
So that was pretty interesting. And again, all their information they're getting from is the toys. Now, they said there's a Lego set out there.
Oh, boy.
Where it shows Legolas and Toriel saving the dwarves. Now, in the book, it's Bilbo who saves the dwarves in the spider's lair. Yet now in the movie, that implies that Legolas and Toriel are going to show up and save the day. So right off the bat, if that's true, that's changing what the book was all about.
Right. Did you see anything about that?
I've seen that set before there. They didn't have it there, but they had pictures up that came up online like on the first day.
Okay.
And I also saw pictures up on the first day where Bilbo saves the dwarves, but like they're in like a wine cellar kind of thing. So maybe they're gonna switch.
Scene,
maybe they're gonna switch those around. Maybe.
Oh, maybe Mike
Well,
was know
no,
about this.
Because it is Legolas and the
if
other
it's a
girl, yeah.
wine barrels, that's got to be down in Lake Town when Bilbo saves the dwarves by putting all the dwarves into barrels where they float them down the river.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that's where it goes to the town, the Lake Men, with Bard, the bowman, and that's the humans' that lived down there. So that's probably the toy set that you saw.
Yeah, and they also had like this orc fortress. They had like the orc king, which is like this big giant orc that has like a crown of thorns or something. And then there's like some orcs, and then there's like Bilbo and Legolas, I think. And then like I think Oakenshield, and it's just like basically like a rickety old fortress.
It seems like they're making Legolas an important character, at least according to the toys.
According to the toys, yeah, and in reality, in the book, he wasn't.
He wasn't even there.
But again, I think this is how Peter Jackson's connecting The Hobbit to The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Which leads into a lot of other problems, too, as we all know now. The Hobbit is 3 movies. The original book was 1 book. Lord of the Rings was 3 books. And we heard what they're doing is they're using the appendixes and the afterwards. It's more of the history from The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. He's taking all that information and he's putting that all into the movie to make it 3 movies.
Plus, he's making stuff up. Characters.
Right. He's making characters up. And he's using the appendixes and the histories, but only from The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Somebody did ask that, were they using the Silmarillion or the Book of Lost Tales or anything else? And they said, no. He doesn't have the rights to that, so any of the information
that's what
in there, he can't touch.
And that's a whole legal issue with the estate, with the Tolkien estate.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like I remember like like something about like the people who own it didn't like the movies, so they didn't give them the rights to anything else.
Right, I heard something about that. That they're kind of into the business of it, but not so much into the creative end of it. So it's like you pay and you can play.
You get to play, and that's why he created a lot of other orcs. Which again, I'd love to get a copy of the press release because it's listing all the characters and their little backstories. Like they said, there's some new goblins. They weren't called orcs. They were actually called goblins in The Hobbit, but they're still orcs.
Now, but explain to me this, because I haven't read. I think I tried reading The Hobbit when I was in like high school or junior high school, so I don't remember much of it. I have a brief memory of the cartoon movie they put out back in the early 80s or late 70s, I don't remember, of The Hobbit. And again, I don't remember much of that either, but I'm familiar with goblins and orcs, that they were almost kind of, there's like a certain strain that was created by Saruman during the Lord of the Rings time period. Are these type of creatures exist in the same fashion in Hobbit world, or are they different, or are they relatives, or how does that work?
They're relatives. From the pictures that we see in the trailer, they're not the same as Lord of the Rings orcs. They're goblins. They're similar. And even in the movie we heard from The Hobbit that they're going to explain the different races or sub-races of the goblins of the orcs.
Okay.
And that's another big thing that they were saying, that there's all these new characters and they try to distinguish
because even on the
Fellowship,
even on the Fellowship of the Ring, I think it was, you get to see that scene in the beginning where that great battle is fought, I don't know, dozens of years ago, and there is an orc type of army or a goblin type of army fighting the elves and the men. So it's like they're there, but they're a little different, I guess.
Right. Exactly. And that was rumors too that OneRing.net thinks somewhere they're going to flash back to that battle to tie the movie together. They think. Again, all through reading the press releases.
Now, what is the year difference between, like, how many, obviously the elves and everybody lives much, well, except for the humans, they live longer than humans. So what is the year difference between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings?
Oh, I think I might be able to figure out something about that, because remember how in the Lord of the Rings, Bilbo, like, he's celebrating his birthday with the ring?
I think it's, if he's 100 in Lord of the Rings, he's what in The Hobbit, like in his 20s or 30s?
Yeah, you would assume he's young.
Okay, and
20s,
obviously
30s.
And obviously, like, the wizards are, even though they look human, they are human, but they live way longer than most people, I guess, because they're magical or something.
I don't know. To sum up, going back with The Hobbit, I mean, there's a lot of new characters that are going to be out there. You're going to get Frodo and Bilbo pop up again. Radagast the Brown, which was a smaller character in the book, is going to get more screen time.
Okay.
It was like Radagast the Brown. It was Gandalf the Grey. Sauron the White. He's part of the Wizard Enclave.
And I guess he's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
Okay.
He was friends to the animals. Remember when they had passed a lot of the comments where Sauron never paid much attention to the animals and nature?
And the trees like them.
And the trees and the Ents. Well, Radagast the Brown was opposite. He paid all attention to the animals and the forest. So they understand you're going to get more of him. And if you look in the trailer, there's a bunny sled with a wizard running down. That's Radagast the Brown.
Oh.
OneRing.net also slowed down the trailer, and while Radagast Brown's in his cottage, you see a spider leg coming through the ceiling. So
Okay.
somehow the spiders are attacking Radagast. Again, this has nothing to do with the original book, so we can tell where Peter Jackson is just
Creative license.
changing things around and stretching it out to make a good movie.
Now, Howard Shore's still going to do the music?
Yes.
Good.
Yep, Howard Shore is back. So looking forward to it. And again, I guess we should have started off with real spoiler warnings. Anybody who really didn't want to listen to this. Too late now, but I've read the book many times. I'm looking forward to the movie.
I mean, we haven't given away anything
So,
major.
we haven't given away major, but it's a lot of this stuff has all been pieced together just by looking at toys, the trailers, and press releases.
Right.
And it's all they needed to put together. So let's see how close it's going to be. We only have a month to wait for the first part.
Great. And the other thing is that the second and third film, you're not going to have to wait a year between them, right?
Correct. Comes out this Christmas is the first one. Then the second one is next
Summer?
summer.
July, I think,
It's
right?
June or July, and
then Christmas again.
Christmas again.
So it's like, I think there's a 6 month, more or less a 6 month difference between
It's like Harry Potter's.
the rest of the films.
That's going to change.
It's like Harry Potter.
I can't
they
see
have
them
one in the
doing it
summer.
in a big summer
the fall.
blockbuster and then throw it at Christmas. I think they may wait and stretch it out for 3 years.
For 3
'Cause
Christmases or 3 summer or
With
another
three,
summer?
either another summer or another Christmas.
We'll
Because
see.
again, think about it. It's their last. What do they have? You don't have Harry Potter, like Kyle said. What are you
Yeah.
going to bank on? You're going to have your 007 come out. What
Yep,
else is out there?
that's
So
right.
I think they're going to milk it, but that's my opinion.
Well, that was one of the big ones for you, I believe.
Yes, it was.
And for us, the big one was the Walking Dead panel.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, this is the same thing, similar to what happens to us last time. In order to see the Walking Dead panel, and this is something they do with New York Comic Con, I don't know for sure if they do this in every convention. You know, I don't know if they do this in San Diego or if they do this here or there. But the way it works is they have a main auditorium where they do any kind of presentation that involves playing, some video on the wall, some screens, and having guests up front. And they have the big stage there called the IGN stage, correct, Mike?
Correct.
So what they do is they have all these panels coming in and out every day. Every other hour, there's another panel coming in and out, And what they do is when people go in to watch these panels, they don't empty out the rooms. The rooms stay full if people want to stay to the next panel and stay to the following one after that and after that and after that. So the problem with that is that you have people who are going to be there for the, let's say, 5 o'clock panel showing up at 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning. So we showed up at 1 o'clock to see the 5 o'clock Walking Dead panel.
Yeah.
And we got to sit somewhere around the back because it was that crowded.
Yeah.
From people just sitting there all day waiting for, I think, Walking Dead. And I think after Walking Dead, they had a Firefly panel.
Yeah, then
And
Firefly.
I still think that's because this year, and I never checked the website, I think there was more people this year than last year. Just by looking at the crowds walking around the convention center.
It's possible. But like I said, we were there and we knew ahead of time. We were like, okay, this is going to take a couple of hours, and as long as we get in, we'll just sit through whatever panels they have. So let me tell you a little bit about the panels that we kind of accidentally got to see because we weren't planning on seeing them, but we had to see them in order to get to The Walking Dead.
And some of them were disturbing.
Yes. The first one was The Conjuring, and this is a horror film, kind of like a ghost story kind of film, and they showed us a trailer and a clip, and people were pretty scared of this one. The director is James Wan, who has done similar films in the past.
Like Saw.
Yeah, I believe he directed the original Saw and Insidious. So he's got a track record of horror, pretty heavy horror films. And this one looked pretty good in terms of, it was pretty scary what they were showing us. But, not exactly the type of thing I'm going to be running to the theater to see.
Yeah, the film was about like a bunch of ghost hunters. Like there's two of them. I think they're married, and they're basically solve a case where there's like a woman who says there's a witch who's basically playing tricks around the house, and people start going nuts. And,
Right, and it's them kind of investigating the phenomenon, but what's happening.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, I mean, not only the director was there, but Patrick Wilson, pretty known actor, was there promoting it too, because he's one of the stars.
I've seen
of
him
the film.
somewhere before.
What does
he do?
A lot. Well, it's funny. He was in Prometheus. He played Shaw's father in The Memory.
Oh.
He's done a ton of films. He's done a ton of films. But after The Conjuring, we saw the panel for The Bay. Now, The Bay
that looks good.
Is an interesting movie because, first of all, it's directed by Barry Levinson, who's a very well-known director, an Oscar-winning director, and this time around, he's chosen to do a movie that's one of these kind of like Paranormal Activity, kind of like Blair Witch type of films,
Cloverfield, more like a Cloverfield
like
kind
a
of
point
movie.
of, POV, the story being told through different video cameras,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And the
Chronicle.
basic story about this one, which he was there to talk about, is about these kind of parasitic organisms.
They call them isopods.
Isopods that live or start to grow
in the Bay,
off
North
offshore.
Carolina, I think it was,
Something
or
like
something.
that.
Chesapeake Bay, yeah.
Chesapeake Bay, and how they basically get ingested by the fish, and it kind of eats the fish from the inside out.
Yeah.
And then people ingest them, and it starts to
eat them inside out.
It starts to eat the people, and it's kind of like quarantining. They quarantine like a whole area, and the movie's basically one of these tapes that got out, that somebody snuck out or made sure, because they covered it all up, and it's how this whole town was destroyed by this infestation.
Isn't that cabin fever?
It's
because that was the flesh-eating
virus
that was in the water, and if you drank the water, people got infected, except for the guy who drank beer for the whole weekend.
Now that's a little more far-fetched. But this one, apparently, the way he was talking about it is that he was actually researching a real event or a condition of these parasitic organisms that actually exist in Baltimore.
Well, they don't actually exist. They used to exist. Basically, he was talking about how like chemicals in the water, basically pollution.
But he was saying that these type of things exist. Obviously, not to the extent they showed on this film, and that at one point he was considering, it's more like a documentary. But then he decided to let's take it into a fictional, horror genre and kind of make it even more, make it bigger and grander than it really is. And scare people a little bit, which is unusual. Again, the particular format of the film, the fact that he's going for this confessional kind of video thing is unusual for such a high-profile director. After that, we saw the trailer for Beautiful Creatures, and the director and the cast of the movie, like 3 or 4 of the cast were there. I wasn't familiar with this movie at all, but apparently it's a book series. You could kind of say it's in the vein of the Twilight, maybe even Hunger Games kind of vein, where these series of books kind of for tweens. If Twilight is about vampires and teenage angst, this one is about witches and teenage angst. So you get that vibe of teenagery kind of guys and girls learning their powers type of thing.
So it's going to be better than Twilight?
No, I think Twilight might be a little better. This is just messed up. It's just stupid.
I mean, I think, like I said, I think it's kind of like Twilight-y in terms of, the romance and the she loves him, he doesn't love her, and that kind of stuff. But it's very also, it looked a little Harry Potter-ish in terms of, they're wizards, they're witches, and they do magic. So that's the hook.
Does anybody get turned into a newt?
I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised because it seemed to be that kind of a movie. Now, the next thing they promoted was they showed us a teaser. They didn't have a full-blown trailer for the remake of Carrie, which starts Julianne Moore and
Chloe. I can't think of her
Chloe
last name.
Grace Moretz. I think that was it. Yeah.
She's obviously she's a lot older now, and she plays the lead role in Carrie. She plays Carrie, and the teaser was I was really surprised by the teaser. It's basically an aerial shot of night, and you start to see a town, like a Midwestern type of town, and certain things are on fire in the town. And as the camera gets closer to the streets, more things are on fire, and a lot of things are on fire. And you see, I guess, the high school is on fire. And behind the high school, the camera continues to go down the street, and you see most of the town is on fire. And the camera zooms into Carrie, covered in blood, which is the Carrie shot, basically. And, she has this weird face, and that's the teaser. So I'm actually interested in this because Julianne Moore is a very good actress, and it's interesting what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it a more modern film, so we'll see which way they go with it. And, that was about a half-hour presentation they did, which was pretty cool. Now, that was followed by the panel for the remake, I guess, or the reboot, if you want to call it, of The Evil Dead.
Oh, no.
Now, this one, they had the director, they had the star of the film, I forget her name, and they had Bruce Campbell, who's the original Ash from the Evil Dead films. Now, Bruce Campbell is a producer of this film, but apparently he's not in it. Sam Raimi is the producer of the film also, but he's not directing it. And the lead character, the character that Ash used to play, is played by this actress. So they're really making it different. Plus, they showed us a trailer that was what you would call a hardcore R trailer. This film is different than the original Evil Dead films. It seems to be very strict horror, no kind of tongue-in-cheek humorous stuff that the original, especially the second one, Evil Dead 2, had. So they're definitely taking a different route with this film, which, you know, I don't know if I'm going to see it in the theater. It might be a little too much even for me. I know that Kyle was there with some of his friends, and they were like horrified at what they were seeing.
Yeah.
The actual.
Now I want to see it. Really?
Well,
The end.
when you have a chance, take a look at it, because sooner or later they're going to put it up online. And I think they actually leaked
a picture.
not only a picture, but a video of the actual trip. Somebody snuck in a camera, which they were looking out for people. They were saying, if you are caught with a camera filming this, you're going to be thrown out of here. And somebody must have done it because they showed it.
Yeah, real quick. When I was in one of the panels for a Marvel panel, Marvel Now, I was sitting there and a kid next to me. It's in the dark. 2 security guards came over and they went, "You out." And he went, "What?" He says, "Up, out." And they pulled him out. So I have to assume he must have had a video camera.
And they were showing some video or just the panel?
No, they were showing a video.
Yeah.
There's a new movie coming out, a Marvel movie with the Hulk.
Really?
Yeah, cartoon.
Oh,
movie.
okay. Yeah, no. In between all these panels, it was warning, and they had guys walking the aisles up and down, looking at everybody, looking at everything. Yeah, they were really looking out for that. But like I said, when you have a chance, take a look at it. It is very, very serious horror type of material they're going for here. Very modern. Bruce Campbell was there. The guy basically stole the show. I don't know if anybody has seen a Bruce Campbell appearance, but he's like a one-man show, what he does on stage when he does his own panels by himself. Here he was sharing the stage with the star of the film and the director of the film, but he kind of he hijacked the panel. And it got to the point where I was certain that the actress who's the star of the film was starting to get annoyed at him because he was stealing the show. He was talking to people, insulting people, walking, into the aisles and getting into discussions and arguments with people and just tearing people to shreds. But that's his shtick. He does that everywhere he goes. And the actress was like, she looked like she was horrified sometimes. Like she just wanted to get the hell out of there.
She was giving him looks too. She was just like,
yeah, she was. I don't think she was expecting him to be the way he was, but you gotta, if you know him, that's what he does. His fans love it when he goes into that mode where he basically steals the show.
That's almost like Lance Henriksen when he does conventions. When he talks, he hates sitting behind the table. And I saw him at a convention. He sat on top of the table. He walked into the crowd. He's like, "I can't stand here," and he would just go crazy.
I strongly recommend, if anybody has a chance to go to a convention that Bruce Campbell is doing a panel, go see him because the guy is hilarious. I bought and I read his 2 books. They're very funny. Believe me, you'll love it.
So what about that Walking Dead panel?
That's right.
Did you ever get to that?
That's right, because that was the actual reason why we went to see all these panels, was to get to The Walking Dead. Now, the stars that were there, let me just give you a list. Andrew Lincoln was there, like the first time. I remember when the show premiered. Yeah. Robert Kirkman, the writer of the comics, producer of the show. Galen Hurd, also one of the producers. Norman Reedus, who plays Daryl.
Yeah, Daryl.
Chandler Riggs, who is Carl.
Yeah.
Danya Guria.
She plays Michonne.
David Morrissey, who's the governor.
Yeah.
Michael Rooker, who's Daryl's brother.
Yeah, Merle.
And just like the previous couple of times, Chris Hardwick was there to moderate the show, who's also the host of The Talking Dead. Now, this was cool because we got to see some people for the first time. Michonne and the governor, those 2 actors, this is the first time doing the convention.
And Merle, too.
And Merle, that's right. He was never there before. And it was really cool. We, like I said before, we're really far back, so they were really far to see, but they had these huge projectors that you could see everything like really cool and close. But like I said before, this time around, they gave us some new characters. They showed us the first, I think, 3 minutes of the premiere episode. People were going nuts.
That's why I didn't want to go. I just wanted to be surprised on season opener on TV.
Well, they do the usual thing. They do the Q&A. Chris Hardwick asks them his questions. And then the people, they open it up the floor, and people are asking, typical questions here and there, that sort of thing. Sometimes people would ask questions that have to do with the comic book. And at one point, somebody mentioned something about the fate of Rick's wife, and people started booing because they didn't want to go into that. And Kirkman reminded everybody that, listen, things go one way in the comic book, they might go a different way in the TV show, like it's already happened. So it's great if you know this stuff, but we are not always going to be following the comic book's rules. Some characters are going to live way past what they're supposed to, and some characters are going to die faster, and some characters are not even going to exist. So things could go either way. You remember anything special about the panel?
I remember there was some funny stuff that they had, like Andrew Lincoln came down and saw a lady's tattoo of his face put under her leg.
Oh, that's right. He actually went down to the floor, and it was, and then Norman Reedus was like staring at it too, and they were all kind of making a big show out of this woman's tattoo.
Weird faces.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
That is kind of weird to have a tattoo on your leg.
But I think that was pretty much the big one. I mean, that was the big panel of the night, and the room was jam packed.
Big panel, period. That was like the highlight of the. So they had this huge, like, I don't know how big it was. It was just like the size of like a house poster of The Walking Dead hanging inside the thing. It was fantastic. It was like,
it was great.
At the entrance.
They didn't, and like I said, the only scene they showed us was that one. They also did show a combination of all the trailers for season 3, all the different trailers they were playing, over the last couple of months. They put them all back to back as one big trailer, so they played that at the end. And that was cool. Yeah. But they didn't show, like I said, they didn't show a lot. They only showed the first 3 minutes of the first episode. I remember when they were premiering the show 2 years ago, they gave us like
6.
I think it was like 3, 4, or 5 different scenes.
They gave you. They gave us like 6 minutes.
Yeah, several.
Glenn and Rick going up the
but obviously they were trying to generate interest. The interest is there now. All they have to do is maintain it.
Yeah, well, when it's one of the top-selling comics out there, makes it very easy.
Of course. Now, once again, I didn't have that much time to run around, but on some of the trips back and forth through the dealer room, there was a Legendary display, the film company Legendary, and they had a Pacific Rim display. They had 2 armored robots, basically. I guess they're miniature robots from the film. And at one point when I was walking by there, Guillermo del Toro was there, the director of Pacific Rim. I don't know if he was signing autographs or shaking hands or what, but I couldn't really see him too closely, but I know he was there because I kind of saw him from the corner. I'm like, oh my God, what's he doing? And there was a lot of people there all around them crowding.
Yeah, I saw him too. I was walking by and it's like, oh, what's the big lines? And I went, oh, Guillermo del Toro. He was just sitting there. Same thing. Another time, Chris Hardwick was at that booth signing autographs.
The other unexpected treat that Kyle and I got was at one point, we were crossing the dealer floor.
Yeah,
we were crossing the dealer floor. I don't know where we were heading to just to look at the dealers.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we passed near, I think, the Walking Dead booth, which is where they sell the Walking Dead material, and when Robert Kirkman usually maybe once a day is doing his autograph sessions. And all of a sudden I'm like, Kyle, that guy walking over there. And there was a guy walking with maybe 2 or 3 people around him. I'm like, that looks like Robert Kirkman. I'm like, Kyle, go talk to Robert Kirkman. And he was like, no, I can't talk to him. I'm like,
okay, he's walking.
He was all shy about it. So I'm like, okay, follow me. So I go, Robert, how are you? And the guy turns around and he's like, hey, hi, how are you? And, we saw your panel yesterday, referring to this
he
Walking
shakes
Dead
our
panel.
hands, yeah.
We both shake his hand, and he's like, hey guys, come today. I have another panel, by myself today. I'm like, yeah, that's great. And we were like, and tonight we're going to watch the show. Can't wait. So, nice to meet you. Have fun. And he's like, yeah, thanks guys. And he walked. It was really friendly. It was like, holy crap. It was just such an unplanned bonus for that entire convention that we got, that you couldn't pay for that. And it's one of those moments where you're like, oh, I should have taken a picture, or I should have got an autograph. It's like, no, that was fine.
That would ruin it.
Then you kind of go to a different level of this. I think for him, that's those kind of exchanges are fine, but you don't want to go a little too crazy. But Kyle, I want you
that
to,
totally makes up for. I was gonna try to go for the autographing.
Yeah,
thing.
we
went too late though.
Yeah, we wanted to do
that totally makes
the
up
8
for that.
a.m. lining up for the autographs for The Walking Dead, which they don't do autographs. But I have a feeling in order to get those passes, you would have to get up and be in line like at 3 in the morning.
In
or something.
passing, and on the bowling league, one of the guys at bowls, young kid, mid-20s, said one of his friends tried to get the passes. At 4 o'clock in the morning, he was outside the Javits Center, and he did not get any passes.
Oh my God!
Now,
4 in the morning.
I said, "Are you sure that's the passes for the free autographs?" I think so. I said, well, I also you're out there at 4 in the morning, so I'm going to see him again on Tuesday, but we're pretty sure.
Oh my God.
He said his friend didn't even get in.
I'm glad we didn't go, because we were thinking of going there like at 6 in the morning, and it's like, oh my God, it would have been such a disappointment to show up so early and not get anything. Anyway, Mike, why don't you tell us a little about some of the other panels you saw?
Well, you guys were waiting for The Walking Dead. I got to go to 2 other panels. There was the Marvel Now, according to Joe Quesada. He says it's not Marvel Now, it's Marvel Now. You have to emphasize now, because they're relaunching all the titles. They're starting over with number 1s again. So as a comic book collector, I hate that. You can't continue on. So now you're going to get X-Men number 1, like volume 4. I don't know what it's even up to.
Is this anything like what they did? That was that Marvel 52 or
That was
DC 21 or whatever the hell?
52.
The new 52.
Is that
The
kind of
new
like that?
52,
a reboot?
same thing.
A reboot.
They're
52
just
different titles.
rebooting, and because they're rebooting, they decided to renumber.
Do fans like that?
Most fans don't. It makes it annoying to figure out what numbers of your issues. It was easy when it was 1 through up to 600. Now it's 1 to 500 and stops, then you pick up volume 2, then that stops, and there's volume 3, then that stops, then you got volume 4. But anyway, just to regurgitate, whatever. Regurgitate. The big news was obviously with the Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming out, Marvel's going to release a Guardians of the Galaxy comic book in February.
Really?
Yes, so they're
I'm
relaunching
shocked.
that as part of the Marvel Now.
Now.
So that should be pretty neat. It's bringing back Star-Lord. Nova's coming back. He's going to get his own comic book also.
Oh, Nova's cool. I know
It's
Nova.
pretty cool that they're bringing all the galactic type characters are now going to be brought into the Marvel universe instead of being separate. They even said no more of, well, that's Marvel Cosmic. No, it's a Marvel character. Everybody's going to get together, all the same. There's no more of this drawing the line in different universes. So that was pretty neat. And that's actually something to look forward to because I like to see what they're going to do with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And they just talked about a little bit of the renaming of all the titles and starting all over.
So, Mike, does that mean like they're gonna end like the Ultimates and all that stuff?
No, Ultimates will be still going. As I know, I don't think they're ending it. I don't think they're renumbering those. The Ultimate line will stay as the Ultimate line.
Oh, okay, because Ultimates are cool, awesome.
Marvel also talked about their cooperation with ESPN. They're doing a comic book with Marvel and ESPN with LeBron James. So any of you basketball fans that are out there, you'll have fun and you can listen to that.
Okay.
So that was pretty neat. I also went to IDW Comics, their panel, and they talked about some of their newer books that are coming out. Mars Attacks, we all remember the movie. Well, that's been the trading cards, and they've got the rights in the comic books. So that's pretty cool because what they're doing is going to be a lot of team-ups. And you're going to have issues with Mars Attacks with Popeye, Mars Attacks with Kiss, Mars Attacks and Ghostbusters,
Oh my God.
Mars Attacks and Transformers, Mars Attack and Zombies, and Mars Attack with, believe it or not, Honey Boo Boo.
What about Chuck Norris?
No Chuck Norris.
That's
They
the only
didn't
one they
say
missed, I think.
anything about Chuck Norris.
Yeah, they gotta have Chuck Norris.
Very interesting.
Of course,
Chuck Norris.
there's another Star Trek and Doctor Who.
Ooh.
Assimilation 2. It's a sequel that's in the works. They're relaunching and re-releasing G.I. Joe. So all the G.I. Joe fans, you've got a new stories of G.I. Joe.
Maybe this time around.
That could be a lot of fun.
Maybe this time
G.I.
around
Joe.
they're trying to get the movie, since the movie got canceled or postponed.
They got
they're
postponed to
trying-
May.
They're going to next year now to try to team up with this.
Yeah. Also have My Little Pony.
Oh, I'm there.
Yay!
Now they said My Little Pony's not just for kids. There's going to be a lot of in-jokes and things for adults. It's made for everybody.
Are we gonna see a Robot Chicken show now?
You never know. But there's
Next.
again, I'm curious now because the writer and the artist were there, and I can't remember the woman's name, but she said, there's gonna be a lot of in jokes. You're gonna have to look at the backgrounds, and they're making it a lot of fun. So I may actually pick that up because I want to see that. I'm not a big Little Ponies fan, but I'd still like to see what's going on.
Me too.
And then they were talking about Thunder Agents Highways by John Byrne. It's a space trucker story. Will Eisner's Spirit might be coming out. Haunted Horrors, reprinting in 1950s comics, the horror comics. Cerebus covers by Dave Sims. If everybody remember that, that was a great line. And again, this is all for you comic book geeks.
Good Lord.
So they got a lot of things coming out. And the big news, if you want, is Star Trek Countdown to Darkness. It's going to be a prequel to the movie. 4 covers, and the idea is you collect them all, you put the covers together, you're going to get one big scene.
And they did this last time.
They did that the last time.
They did have a prequel comic book to the film. So that would be that I'm interested in.
Yeah, it was called Countdown, just Countdown.
Right. And it was good. It gave you some backstory to some of these characters that you got to meet in the film, and it gave you actually more traditional characters.
Give you Data.
I hope they do something similar with this one.
Captain Data.
It sounds like they will because they said the first one was a big success,
Yeah.
so they want to do it for the movie. I didn't pick those up, so I think I'm going to have to do that. And that was pretty much it. I didn't get a chance to talk to him about the new Godzilla comics because they did have the rights, but time ran out.
Well, speaking of Godzilla, I know you picked up some goodies.
Yes.
Godzilla related.
I walked around the main floor, the things I was interested in, some of the toys, and of course, you know me, I'm always stopping for the Godzilla stuff. Bandai had a big display, and you can get all the SH Monster Arts toys. They had them all. They had a nice little display of Godzilla, Space Godzilla, King Ghidorah, like destroying a mock-up of the convention center. It says New York Comic Con.
Oh, yeah.
But I had picked up 2 of the toys. I picked up the Fire Rodan and the Baby Godzilla. I still got to get Mulgara and Mecha
Now, are these
Godzilla.
new toys or old toys that are like hard to get old toys?
No, these are new toys.
Oh, good.
It's got like 26 points of articulation. The wrists, elbows, arms, tails, mouth, heads.
And are these painted
everything
accurately,
moves.
or are
All
these
accurately
generic colors? They're
Nope,
accurately
painted.
Good.
They look gorgeous. They come with a lot of little play sets.
Mm-hmm.
You might have the crystals from the Baby Godzilla. Fire Rodan has the beam coming out of his mouth. Mogera's got his missiles shooting out.
Just what you hate.
All
Just
the
the stuff
I
you
love.
hate.
So that's where I spend most of my money on. I got a Godzilla t-shirt. I got those for the Godzilla toys and Frankenstein t-shirt and a couple of odds and ends. I actually bought no comic books this year.
Wow, that's a
which
first
was
for you,
actually
I
a
think.
surprise. I normally hit the dollar bins and grab something.
Well, for me, the convention, the big draw for me, other than The Walking Dead, was the dealer room. You know, I had kind of studied the program ahead of time to find out what they had, and, you know, I was a little disappointed they didn't have a Hasbro Star Wars presentation. You know, they didn't have anything like that I liked. You know, I'm into Star Wars related stuff or Star Trek related stuff, so they didn't have too much of that. But the dealer room always makes up for it as far as I'm concerned. And a couple of things I picked up was the novel for The Road to Woodbury, which is the latest Walking Dead novel by Robert Kirkman. I got that for Kyle, but, you know, I'm obviously going to read it sooner or later. I got Kyle the Walking Dead hat.
That's great.
I bought a couple of Star Wars shirts, some AT-AT shirts I found, some like funny, weird AT-AT shirts. And recently, I don't know if I talked about this before, but I've been reconstituting my Kenner original Star Wars figure collection. I had given them to my son a while back, very long time ago, so he can play with them. And, you know, in the process, just like when I used to play with them, you know, some of them got damaged, destroyed, lost, whatever. So I decided I wanted to start rebuying those old Kenner figures. And obviously I'm not going to buy them, you know, in mint condition carded because I don't have that kind of cash. But I just wanted used, loose figures.
Well, you can spend his college education.
Yeah, that's a good point. You got a good point there. And when we went to Celebration 6 a couple months ago, there was a lot of loose figures, but at the time I didn't know exactly which ones I needed. So this time for the convention, I came with my list of what I needed. And I got something like 7, 8, or 9 figures out of like 10 or 12 that I needed. So after this trip to this convention, I was able to almost complete my original Star Wars Kenner collection. You know, I was spending anywhere from $2 to $5 per figure. So, you know, I wasn't going, you know, even in the $10 range for figures, but I was very happy with that. I also got a Rebel Pilot set because I also collect like deleted scene figures, and they put out these Rebel Pilot set years ago, many years ago, that included a Neo Numb type of figure that instead of having a red pilot uniform has a white uniform. And when they released the Star Wars Blu-rays with the Return of the Jedi deleted scenes, there's a scene where that particular character is putting out a fire inside of the Millennium Falcon. It's a deleted scene, so it's like perfect. I got to get that figure, and they never made him by himself. He was always part of a 3-pack, and I just happened to find them at a toy vendor that had a whole wall of action figures, and he was like, anything on this wall is $5. So I'm like, well, how about that box that has 3 figures? He's like, $5. I'm like, I'll take it. So I got 3 figures for $5, and only one of them is the one I needed, but it's like, perfect. I got it. The other thing I was able to get was speaking of reconstituting your old collections, an original Jabba the Hutt, Kenner Jabba the Hutt. The guy wanted $15. I offered him 12. He wanted more than that, wouldn't sell it to me. I walked out. He's like, oh, come back. Oh, hold on. How much do you, he talks to his boss. How much is this? He's like, $10. Okay, $10. Here's $10. So I ended up getting it cheaper than I was offering him because he had to go ask somebody else. And the last thing I bought was another action figure, an actual carded figure, which is the Clone Wars Serapis action figure that I've been looking for a very long time. I found it for like $25. One guy had it for $25. One guy had it for $20. Then by the time I went to buy it, I got it for $15. So I kind of made out pretty good in terms of the price of this particular figure. So again, no major purchases in terms of, no 150 or anything like that dollar items. I go for the cheapy stuff.
I did that the next day. I went to a collectible auction.
Oh,
and
my God.
I ended up getting a nice print signed by Stan Lee, and I paid more than $50.
Tell us about what you found.
It's an auction house on Long Island, Philip Weiss's auction. It's a print signed by Stan Lee. I also got a Spider-Man cell, both of them for $140.
Wow. Well, overall, this to me was a pretty good deal in terms of what we got to do. Like I said before, our main objective was obviously promoting the show. And we actually met a couple of people who actually listened to the show, which was amazing. And we gave out so much promotional material that hopefully it will turn into, more listeners. But at the same time, we all got to go there. I mean, my daughter even went there on a couple of days. So she got out there. I got her some presents too. My son got some presents. We got to see some of the big stars we wanted to see. And we all came back with, some nice happy toys, including Michael.
Yes, and actually, I forgot I picked up the Hallmark Cylon, the gold
Cylon. And I remember you were showing it to me, and walking around there was a guy dressed as a gold Cylon.
There's a gold Cylon?
This is the original Battlestar Galactica.
Are these like captains, commanders? Or
something? Yeah, he's like a high-ranking Cylon.
He's a high-ranking Cylon.
But that was kind of cool, too. And again, the array of costumes you see there is insane. The people, the freakish kind of costumes, and the very incredibly accurate costumes. It's amazing, the type of stuff you see.
I think next year we need to take pictures and put them up on the website.
Oh yeah. We didn't take too many pictures, but it's just we were just too crazy.
Yeah, one of my friends took like a ton. He took like 200 pictures.
Well, let's wrap this up, guys. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for both being here and for taking the time to remember all the stuff that we saw there. And hopefully we will do this again next year, and hopefully we'll all go there those 4 days again and have fun again. On behalf of everybody, thank you for listening to our show, and we'll see you here next time on Geekfest Rants. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your hate and let it flow into me. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You mother, get up, come on, get down with the sickness.
Stop.